Welcome to Lettering Techniques for Landscape Architecture 151, Introduction to Design Visualization. First thing you might be asking yourself is, why in the world are my parents paying college tuition for me to learn how to letter? The last time I did that was in grade school, and besides, isn't everything done on the computers these days? And although I can understand why you might think that, I think you'll find that as you move through your studies here at Penn State and out into your professional career, you'll find that even in the digital age, hand lettering is still an important skill to master. Although many drawings are done on the computer using digital text and plotted for presentation, there are many times when freehand drawings and lettering are required. Whether it's preliminary sketches, conceptual drawings, client reviews, public presentations, or charrettes, the need to communicate through clear, legible, and consistent freehand lettering is essential. This presentation is a brief overview of some of the basic principles and techniques of controlled freehand lettering. Understanding these principles is a good start, but mastering freehand lettering mostly requires lots of practice and repetition. We'll begin with a discussion of the purpose of lettering, review the tools necessary, and finally cover the proper techniques that should be applied. As mentioned earlier, many of the preliminary design drawings are loose, sketchy, and schematic. They require large, bold lettering that complements the conceptual nature of the ideas being communicated. They include a variety of diagrams, conceptual graphics, and preliminary design drawings. They're often done on tracing paper, affectionately referred to as bumwad, and sometimes on vellum. Broad-tip pens and markers are often the drawing instrument of choice because of the thick line weight and bold appearance needed. This type of freehand lettering can be solid lines or outline letters, as you see on the slide, with additional graphic highlights to make the text stand out even more. It's intended to be loose, freehand, and ornamental. The second type of lettering that is used is technical lettering. This type of lettering is more controlled, precise, and consistent. It is used on technical drawings such as details, master plans, and working drawings. It has a basic sans serif block style that is written in all caps for better clarity. Technical lettering ranges in size from 1/8 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch, depending on the purpose of the text. Notes versus labels, or title block information, for example. Mechanical pencils or fine-tip markers are best suited for technical lettering in order to control line weight, which refers to the thickness of a line, it's abbreviated LW, line quality, which refers to the sharpness or crispness of the edges and is abbreviated LQ, line tone, which refers to the lightness or darkness of a line and is abbreviated LT, and line control, which refers to the consistency in terms of direction and angle and is abbreviated LC. These four qualities are essential to consistent, readable technical lettering. When using a pencil, a lead hardness of F or H is usually a good place to start. If you use too soft of a lead, you will get poor line quality and lots of smudging. If you use too hard of a lead, your line quality will be good, but your line weight and line tone will be too light and thin. One useful tool for helping you with your lettering is the Ames lettering guide. And although it's not absolutely necessary, it can save a lot of time when creating guidelines. When creating text for conceptual drawings, you might write everything completely freehand without guidelines. But technical lettering needs to be more consistent and always requires the use of guidelines to keep letter height, size, and spacing consistent. The Ames lettering guide is designed to be used with a T-square for quickly making rows of guidelines that are consistent in height without using your scale to measure out each line. These guidelines should be drawn with a mechanical pencil, a 4H lead, and made very light so that once the lettering is done, they will barely be visible on the paper. To use the guide, turn the center circle to align one of the numbers with the index mark at the bottom. The lower numbers align the guide holes at a flatter angle, creating smaller spacing between each set of guidelines. The higher numbers align the guide holes closer to a vertical, creating a larger spacing between each set of guidelines. The numbers on the Ames lettering guide represent 30/2 of an inch, so a number 4 setting is 4 30/2 or 1/8 inch in vertical height. Once you have selected a number, use the guide holes to draw sets of guidelines by inserting your pencil in a hole and drawing it across the paper using the T-square as a base. The different sets of holes create guidelines in sets of 3, top, bottom, and center, or top, bottom, and 2/3 or 3/5 from the bottom. The extra middle line is not necessary, but is often used as a guide for the horizontal parts of letters such as E, F, R, and P, to name a few. Each set of guidelines is separated by a vertical distance equal to 1/2 the letter size. And whether you use the Ames lettering guide or not, this is always a good standard to keep in mind. Although there are many variations of block lettering, it is best to start with the basic neutral block form as shown on this slide. This example is by Frank Ching and was used as the basis for the Tecton font that you can use on your computer. Its characteristics include straight as opposed to slanted verticals, true horizontal lines, and a neutral height to width ratio, which you can see in the letter M, which is approximately a square. Horizontal lines are drawn at or slightly above the middle of the vertical height of the letter. This basic style is easy to read, pleasing to look at, and easily adaptable to other variations after you have mastered it. Practice the letter form until you have developed consistency and quality with all the letters. You may find some easier to master than others, so practice the ones you have trouble with a little bit more. Be sure to keep the neutral form not too vertical and not too broad, as shown on this slide. Spacing between letters should be close enough to make words easy to read, but not so close that the letters are overlapping. Try to maintain even visual space between the letters, not just equal spacing. This means that some letters will be more closely spaced and others will be slightly further apart. Some prefer to use a small triangle to keep the vertical straight and consistent, but with practice, this is not necessary and may end up making your lettering a little slower than working with it completely freehand. As you will see in the exercise problem statement, all lettering exercises will be completed using a number 6 setting and the 3/5 column on the Ames lettering guide. You will receive feedback and suggestions on each assignment that you can use to improve your lettering. Please read them and work on any issues that are noted, or you won't see improvement as quickly as you move from one exercise to the other.